Hey, good morning. This is Joe from Citrus County Porch Life, bringing you the AA Word of the Day for October 22nd, which is a Tuesday. And the word for the day is true tolerance. And this is the quote. Finally, we begin to see that all people, including ourselves, are to some extent emotionally ill as well as frequently wrong. And then we approach true tolerance and see what real love for our fellows actually means. And that is from 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 92. Here's a daily reflection commentary. The thought occurred to me that all people are emotionally ill to some extent. How could we not be? Who among us is spiritually perfect? Who among us is physically perfect? How could any of us be emotionally perfect? Therefore, what else are we to do but bear with one another and treat each other as we would want to be treated in similar circumstances? This is what love really is. And this is so true. And it's something you have to guard against. The more sobriety you have, that you get the whole thing licked and there's nothing wrong with you and you can figure everything out, because I'm still that lonely alcoholic that walked in the door March 4th, 1991, and I haven't had any direct divine revelation from Christ saying that I no longer have emotional illness. I know I have it, emotional and spiritual. We're physically sick, spiritually sick, emotionally sick. And we have little improvements, sometimes setbacks. It's progress, not perfection. And our growth in the AA program will terminate on our death. Just like the chance to do as much for the kingdom of God as you can possibly do. It will terminate when we die. So, when we really realize that we are still sick, that these things pop up, that we do need that daily reflection of all the things we did right and wrong. We don't always want to make it wrong because we do a lot of things right. I begin to realize, geez, you got so mad at that driver. And, almost go off the handle, start swearing while I'm driving, and that's not right, because I do the exact same things. And they're probably yelling at me. And I mentioned several times before, I think, I used to go to this meeting. It was in a town called Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And there was a lady there who talked, every meeting. But she did not talk about AA. She talked about her dog, and it got to the point where I'd come in and I'd look around, because she'd go the maximum that they would allow her talking about her dog. And I'd go to the meeting and look and see if she was there. And if she was there, I'd think of leaving. I've never left a meeting. And she would go on and on and on. Then finally, she said something almost in passing when she talked. She said, well, anyway, I couldn't drink. And that changed she realized she couldn't drink. I realized I can't drink. We have a bond there. And then I learned that she was going to cancer treatments, and she was really worried about her dog. That didn't come out. She didn't say that in her speeches. She just talked about the dog. So it was something that her friends knew. And I went up to her and I apologized for the thoughts that I had of her. And we became very good friends. Very good friends. And she has died, but she was alive all the time I was in Rhode Island. And I had a lot of guilt about that. That I was judging someone and not knowing anything about them. It showed an immaturity in me that with the time I had in AA, I forget exactly how much I had, that would pop up. No one should ever be thought of like that. I never said anything to her face or like, shut up, give someone else a chance to talk, but so that emotional sickness and that spiritual sickness is there in me. My daily reprieve from alcohol helps me to control it. Had I been drinking, it would have been a much different situation. And, well, I wouldn't have been at the meeting, but had I been at the meeting drinking, I would have said something. And it just shows you how true this is, that, we can keep going. And there's a spiritual sickness there that we haven't healed yet. We are, to some extent, to quote it, emotionally ill, as well as frequently wrong. Now that's a double whammy. To be ill, but to be wrong, to judge someone on the flimsiest of information. And I'm just glad that the rest of my time in Rhode Island, after I made amends to her, and she had no idea what I was thinking, but it just bothered me. And it was wonderful. And every time, if I got there before her, she'd come over and she'd sit right next to me and ask me what was going on. And she knew I was a nurse. I'd ask her how her treatments were going. And she was always hopeful, always a big smile, and that dog meant so much to her. I mean, I certainly, if I had a relative, I talked many times about my brothers, and because that's what I had. I had a lot of brothers, 7 brothers, so I talked about them a lot. And I'm glad she forgave me, and I'm glad God forgave me for acting like that. So that's it for today. October 22nd, 2024. It's hard to believe it's 2024. It's just a disconnect when I think back to the early 90s getting into AA, and then I say 90s weren't 30 years ago, but they were. They were. And the 70s were 50 years ago. And I'm coming up, well, I started high school more than 60 years ago. That's a long time to think about. But I'm still going. I still can think. I still can make some videos, do my little bit, and I go mostly to, before I went to morning meetings because it was in the morning and I was getting out of my 3rd shift job. And now it's because I can't see as well at night. I've had eye surgery for cataracts, and it's just the streets here in Homosassa are not that well lit, so I have more freedom in the summer when it stays light later. But in the winter, I do either morning meetings, and there's a a church around here, St. Benedict's Church, that has morning meetings, 8 and 10, and all a different type of meeting. And that's why I kind of like doing this. I can do it anytime. I can set this up on my kitchen table if it's at night and you can't see me. And it's really a gift from God if you use it correctly to reach more people. Because there are a lot of other people like me that have trouble getting to meetings. In the more rural areas, you know, they have to go to an evening meeting. They don't have the luxury of, you know, coming off a third shift job in the morning. And so I like it. I like the work. It's what I would do if I was by myself sitting here reading, thinking, and I just express my thoughts. So have a safe and sober day for the 22nd. God bless.